Hello, America! JOC here with your Ranting Politics headline updates, where we are diving into today's most explosive political stories that you need to know about. Coming up, we're diving into those massive anti-Trump protests that swept across D.C. and major cities nationwide, with demonstrators raging against Musk's Doge cuts and the new tariffs while organizers urged the crowd to keep them afraid. Then we're hopping across the pond where Marine Le Pen just got knocked out of France's presidential race by a court ruling that's got Trump and his allies crying lawfare. I've also got details on that jaw-dropping new policy banning U.S. government employees in China from having romantic relationships with Chinese citizens. Talk about government overreach. Plus, a bombshell new book claims Obama essentially abandoned the Democratic Party and left it in shambles, with one insider bluntly stating, "Obama destroyed that bleep." And finally, James Carville is raising eyebrows with a controversial comparison between Trump's corporate allies and Nazi collaborators that's setting the political world on fire. If you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome to America's fastest-growing daily news rundown, designed specifically for your commute, run, or coffee time. Stick around for all this and more in your daily dose of unfiltered news and common-sense commentary. This is Ranting Politics Headline Updates. This weekend, the streets of Washington, D.C. transformed into a sea of protest signs and chanting voices as tens of thousands of demonstrators converged near the Washington Monument for what organizers called hands-off rallies. This marks one of the first large-scale demonstrations against President Trump since he returned to the White House in January. The protests weren't just limited to the Capitol. Similar events unfolded simultaneously in New York City, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and reportedly at over 1,000 locations nationwide. What united these protesters? Opposition to the spending cuts proposed by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency and Trump's newly implemented Liberation Day tariffs. The rhetoric at these rallies was nothing short of inflammatory. Activist Minister William Barber II fired up the D.C. crowd by declaring, "Trump and Musk, who want to be dictators and want to be kings and lords, they are afraid of the power of love and truth and justice." He then called on protesters to keep them afraid until they change, framing the current political moment as an outright battle for civilization. Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin joined in, telling protesters they have the right to call the president deranged for crashing our economy, and claimed no moral person wants an economy-crashing dictator who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. What's particularly notable about these demonstrations is the coalition behind them. Democratic and left-wing groups like Indivisible and MoveOn.org organized the events. The same Indivisible that recently called for Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to retire for averting a government shutdown. This suggests growing tensions even within Democratic ranks about how to oppose Trump's agenda. The White House clearly anticipated potential trouble, canceling scheduled garden tours and erecting anti-riot fencing, while protesters flew Trump baby balloons and chanted "Doge bleep," a reference to Musk's efficiency department. The events ended without obvious vandalism or clashes with police. This surge of organized resistance comes as Trump has denounced recent vandalism against Tesla facilities as domestic terrorism, highlighting the increasingly bitter divide between the administration and its opponents. For all the fiery language from the podium, what remains unclear is whether these protests represent the beginning of a sustained resistance movement or merely a momentary release of frustration. The real test will be whether organizers can maintain this momentum and translate street energy into political impact as the administration continues implementing its agenda. Either way, the battle lines for the next 4 years appear firmly drawn. A major political earthquake shook France this week, and it's sending tremors throughout Europe and across the Atlantic. Marine Le Pen, the conservative right figurehead, who is widely considered the frontrunner for France's 2027 presidential election, has been banned from running for political office for 5 years after a French court found her guilty of embezzling millions of euros in European Union funds. The court ruled that Le Pen and her National Rally Party falsely claimed EU money to pay for party staff, presenting them as parliamentary assistants when they were actually working on domestic politics. The party has been ordered to repay $4.1 million and pay an additional $2 million in fines. Le Pen has already announced she will appeal the verdict. This decision has ignited a firestorm of debate about the proper role of courts in democratic systems. On one side, supporters of the ruling argue this simply shows that no one is above the law. Le Pen committed fraud and is facing the consequences, just as any citizen would. They point to precedent, noting that conservative candidate François Fillon saw his 2017 presidential campaign derailed by similar embezzlement charges. On the other side, critics are crying foul, calling this a textbook case of lawfare, using the legal system to eliminate political opponents. President Trump blasted the decision on Truth Social, writing, "The witch hunt against Marine Le Pen is another example of European leftists using lawfare to silence free speech and censor their political opponent." Elon Musk echoed this sentiment, claiming, "When the radical left can't win via a democratic vote, they abuse the legal system to jail their opponents." Vice President J.D. Vance has drawn parallels to Romania, where conservative right candidate Calin Georgescu was recently banned from elections after security services alleged Russian interference in his campaign. In a February speech, Vance accused European leaders of running in fear of their voters rather than competing in the marketplace of ideas. This controversy has created a fascinating philosophical reversal. Traditionally, conservatives have championed institutions and checks on popular will, while progressives have advocated for more direct democracy. Now those positions seem flipped, with right-wing populists claiming to represent the will of the people against institutional elites. Political scientist Yasha Mounk warns that even when well-intentioned, judicial intervention in elections risks undermining democracy itself. If we empower courts to cancel the outcome of elections because we're shocked by who the winner is, we're very close to living in a system of government whose ultimate arbiters are judges rather than people. Yet according to CNN, a modest majority of French citizens appear to support the court's decision, with 57% viewing it as a normal judicial decision. This suggests that despite the outcry from Le Pen's allies, the verdict may not provoke the backlash some anticipate. The question remains, in a healthy democracy, should voters or courts have the final say on who can run for office? As similar debates unfold in democracies worldwide, this French ruling may prove to be a crucial test case for how liberal societies balance rule of law with democratic representation. Dan, stay with us as we take a quick break to hear from our lead sponsor, whose support helps make this show possible.
Hey, you brilliant inventors and creators. Have you crafted a product that's ready to break out from the digital world and hit the physical shelves? Imagine your creation sitting proudly in stores like Walmart, Target, and Home Depot, where 90% of purchases still happen. Well, it's time to turn that vision into reality with Product Fury. At Product Fury, we specialize in bridging the gap between online innovation and retail giants. In fact, we have secured millions of dollars of royalty deals for dozens of products at big box retail stores. Whether you're selling gadgets, home goods, or anything innovative, we're here to amplify your reach. Don't keep your product confined to the web. Visit www.productfury.ai today to submit your information for a free product evaluation. Let's get your products out of the internet cloud and into customer carts. Remember, that's productfury.ai. Make the leap from clicks to bricks and see your product thrive in the bustling aisles of major retailers. It's your time to shine on the big stage. Visit us now.
In a move that's raising eyebrows across the diplomatic community, the U.S. government has implemented a controversial new policy banning American government employees and personnel stationed in China from having romantic or sexual relationships with Chinese citizens. According to reporting from the Associated Press, this sweeping restriction was put in place by former U.S. Ambassador Nicholas Burns just before he departed his post. The policy evolved in stages, beginning with a more limited version tested in summer 2024. Initially, the ban only prohibited U.S. government employees from romantic entanglements with Chinese citizens who worked as support staff and guards at the U.S. Embassy and 5 consulates throughout China. However, Burns dramatically expanded the scope just days before President Trump took office, extending the prohibition to cover relationships with any Chinese citizen. Though announced internally to American staff in China back in January, the policy hasn't been publicly disclosed until now. Sources familiar with the decision indicate it came after several members of Congress approached Burns with concerns about the lack of restrictions on such relationships. The consequences for violating this policy are severe: immediate removal from China. It's worth noting that the ban only applies to U.S. employees stationed within China's borders, not those serving elsewhere. Interestingly, the Chinese government maintains a similar policy for its own overseas personnel, prohibiting them from romantic or sexual relationships with foreign citizens. This extraordinary measure raises profound questions about the boundaries between national security concerns and personal freedom. Are these legitimate safeguards against potential compromising situations or an overreach into the private lives of government employees? The timing of the expansion, occurring during the presidential transition period, adds another layer of complexity to an already contentious issue. The policy surfaces amid already tense U.S.-China relations, with the Biden administration having continued the hawkish stance started by the first Trump administration toward Beijing on issues ranging from trade to Taiwan. Whether this will become another flashpoint between the two superpowers remains to be seen, but it certainly adds another complication to an already strained diplomatic relationship. According to a bombshell new book, the charismatic president who once inspired millions with his message of hope and change may have left his own party in tatters. Fight: Inside the Wildest Battle for the White House, published by William Morrow and Company, makes the stunning claim that Barack Obama was never truly committed to the Democratic Party as an institution and deliberately distanced himself after leaving office. The book, authored by political journalists Jonathan Allen of NBC News and Amy Parnes of The Hill, contrasts Obama's approach with party stalwarts like Bill and Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. While the Clintons and Biden built their political careers through traditional party channels, Obama reportedly cultivated his own base of support among black professionals that operated somewhat independently from the Democratic establishment. Perhaps most damaging is the allegation that Obama's creation of Organizing for Action following his 2012 re-election actively undermined party infrastructure. This nonprofit, designed to advance Obama's legislative priorities, allegedly competed with the Democratic Party for both influence and financial resources. One Black Party operative quoted in the book didn't mince words, saying Obama destroyed that bleep when describing the former president's impact on the party. The book details how, in the aftermath of Obama's departure in 2016, the Clintons, Biden, former DNC chair Donna Brazile, and other party veterans had to work to rebuild the party infrastructure. Their efforts focused on preventing far-left progressives from taking control and ensuring establishment figures maintain power within the Democratic apparatus. By helping install party loyalists at the national and state committees over the course of years, these establishment Democrats kept progressive outsiders at bay, the book states. One Black Biden ally familiar with these behind-the-scenes maneuvers bluntly credited Bill and Hillary mother-in Clinton with this effort to stabilize the party. The revelations extend to the 2024 election cycle, with Fight claiming Obama remained hesitant to back Kamala Harris after Biden stepped aside. His delayed endorsement reportedly offended Harris and required relationship mending between the two Democrats. Some political observers now question whether Obama's influence over the party is waning, with critics suggesting he remains out of touch with Trump's appeal to American voters. Based on interviews with over 150 political insiders, these claims paint a picture of a former president who, despite his transformative campaign and historic presidency, may have prioritized his personal brand over strengthening the Democratic Party's foundation. Well, folks, the political rhetoric has reached fever pitch this week as Democratic strategist James Carville made comments that are raising eyebrows across the political spectrum. During a recent episode of his Politicon podcast, the man who helped guide Bill Clinton to the White House drew a historical comparison that's as provocative as it gets. Carville suggested that Americans who cooperate with President Trump's administration might eventually face public condemnation similar to what Nazi collaborators experienced after World War II. While he explicitly stated he wasn't advocating for such treatment, the mere comparison has ignited a firestorm. I'm not saying that these people should be placed in pajamas and have their heads shaved, march down Pennsylvania Avenue and spit on. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that that did happen, Carville remarked, referencing the humiliating treatment of European Nazi collaborators after Paris was liberated in August 1944. The veteran Democratic strategist specifically targeted law firms and corporations that have been working with the Trump administration, characterizing them as betraying the United States, in the same way collaborators betrayed the French nation. This comes in the context of increased pressure from the Trump administration on major law firms with perceived Democratic ties. Last month, Trump signed an executive order stripping employees of the Perkins Coie law firm of security clearances and access to government buildings. Meanwhile, other firms like New York's Paul Weiss reportedly met with Trump and pledged $40 million worth of legal work to avoid similar penalties. Carville has been on a tear lately with these types of comparisons. Just last month, he labeled Amazon founder Jeff Bezos a collaborator after Bezos pledged to work with the Trump administration, saying Bezos will never ever wash that stench off of him. The inflammatory rhetoric highlights the increasingly bitter divide in American politics, with figures on both sides abandoning traditional guardrails of political discourse. While Carville clarified he wasn't calling for physical confrontation, adding that people shouldn't assault anyone, his comments reflect the alarming normalization of extreme historical comparisons in today's political landscape. What a news cycle, folks! From massive protests in D.C. to Marine Le Pen's political ban, from bizarre relationship restrictions for government employees to Obama's alleged party betrayal, and now Carville's inflammatory Nazi comparisons. We're seeing division deepen across America and around the globe. These stories reveal a troubling pattern where political battles aren't just intensifying, but transforming into existential conflicts. We've got protesters calling officials neo-fascists, courts removing candidates from ballots, government regulating personal relationships, former presidents allegedly sabotaging their own parties, and veteran strategists making World War II comparisons. When did we start treating political differences like ideological warfare? That's a question worth reflecting on as we navigate these turbulent times. Keep up with all our unfiltered coverage by following us on X at RantingRP. You can also find us on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and at rantingpolitics.com, where we cut through the noise every single day. This is JOC signing off, and thank you, our loyal listeners, for choosing Ranting Politics headline updates. We'll be back soon with the updates you need to navigate these interesting times. Until then, stay tuned, stay informed, and as always, stay free.
Is your home's landscaping, exterior style, or outdoor space ready for a transformation? Whether you're lakeside or curbside, make the most of your property with Garden and Grow Design, your premier digital landscape designers. At Garden and Grow Design, we specialise in increasing the value and beauty of your home by crafting elegant outdoor living spaces. Our experienced and creative designers use cutting-edge 3D technology to blend seasonal colours, perennial blooms and stylish hardscapes into your ideal garden. And the best part? It's all designed for minimal maintenance. Don't just imagine your perfect yard. See it first with our innovative digital designs. Whether it's a serene waterfront retreat or a chic patio for entertaining, we bring your outdoor dreams to life. Ready to grow? Visit www.gardenandgrowdesign.com to start your journey toward a breathtaking landscape today. Garden and Grow Design. Cultivate beauty, cultivate life.